Better excite me, but you excite me. In real life, you look like you look on IG. Nobody cause it go slow, oh. If I give you my love, girl, you got one more time. My lover, say the two they do make me keep them undercover. All girl is me and you tonight. Oh baby, me and you tonight. Sad romance, girl, let me rock your body from Niger to France. Say you get it, boyfriend, you know be my concern. Say you get it.
Welcome to the Ford Prizes 2025. I was so nervous backstage, and then I heard the music, and I was just dancing backstage, so thank you, DJ. Thank you all so much for being here, and what a beautiful honor to be here opening the celebration of not just artistic craft, but of vulnerability and daring and risk-taking and sense-making. My name is Soledad Santana. I'm one of the Barbican Young Poets, and I also had, yes, Barbican Young Poets, whoop! I also had the great privilege of being one of the shadow judges this year as part of the Young Poets Summit. Yes, so I had the opportunity to engage so deeply and intimately with some of these collections and poems that were shortlisted. And if you're interested in seeing what the young poets felt were the winners, I would recommend going to the National Poetry Library, where they have our selected winners up there. And I'm here today because I think it's important to speak about the Young Poets Summit, and this is an event that took place yesterday, organized by Tolu. So thank you so much, Tolu, for creating this beautiful space for young poets to come together from across the UK. And we had poets participating from the Barbican Young Poets, from New Writing North, from Young Identity, from Hive. And just, it was a wonderful opportunity to get to meet poets from across the UK. And if you're new to London, if you came to London, especially for this event, I really can't think of a better place to get a sense of what makes London special. And I think in the judging process, I realized that what I really look for in a poem is that a poem can break the separation between the outer and the inner world. A good poem will let you be the poem for a little bit. A good poem will let you stop existing for a little while, or at least as a being that believes that they're somehow separate from the external world and what we're seeing happening in the external world around us. In speaking about this togetherness, I think it's the poetry community, for me, that makes London a special place. And as a poet, I'm under no illusion, really, that I know that I wouldn't be standing here calling myself a poet if it weren't for the beautiful mentors that London has. People like Jacob Samla Rose, people like Natalie Teitler, people like Tolu Alikbusi, people who are so committed to nourishing this new generation of poets. And I want to be clear that this isn't really just about making better poets or improving poetic craft. Because for us as poets, poetry is a tool that we've been given to make sense of the world and to help us survive in our world, to help us preserve humanity under systems that are purposefully created to dehumanize many of us. And so when we have spaces like the Young Poets Summit yesterday, when we have poetry collectives for young people like the Barbican Young Poets, it's really about giving poets the tool to give sense to life and to protect our collective humanity in that way. I also want to thank the Forward Prizes, because without them, the Young Poets Summits would not have been possible. I want to thank the young curators who put together a beautiful event full of the opportunity to hear from the shortlisted poets, to hear about their creative practice, their work. We participated in a masterclass with the wonderful Kareem Parkins Brown, who is also a former BYP, and we got to meet industry professionals So thank you so much to the beautiful poetry community. Thank you for Forward, and I'm so excited for you to be part of the evening today. For those of you visiting, I can't think of a better introduction into what makes London a special place. And without further ado, I will hand over the mic to your host for the evening, Joelle Taylor. Thank you so much.
Welcome to the Forward Prize 2025! I'm Joelle Taylor, and I'll be your glamorous host for this evening, guiding you through the proceedings. And beautiful proceedings they are. Thanks so much to Soledad for introducing us, and to Kamanzi right there, the DJ who's been playing for us this evening. Tonight, we will be announcing the Forward Prize for Best Single Poem Written, the Forward Prize for Best Single Poem Performed, the Jerwood Prize for Best First Collection, and the Forward Prize for Best Collection. The Forward Prizes were set up by William Sieghart and first awarded in 1992, with winners including some fresh-faced young poets called Simon Armitage and Jackie Kay, who now do open mics around the country. The Forward Prize is now the most influential awards for new poetry in the UK and Ireland, honouring fresh voices alongside internationally established names. Tonight, we carry on that tradition, and who knows? Amongst this lineup, we may well have the laureates and mackers of years to come. What we certainly do have are 20 of the best poets and poems you'll hear in the UK at the moment, and an incredible evening of live poetry ahead of us. You can find out more about the poets and read the poems in your digital programs, available by scanning the QR codes provided on the screen behind me and on the boards outside the auditorium, or searching the Forward Prizes on the Bloomberg Connects app. I'll be inviting Sarah Hall to join me later this evening, who chaired the judges for this year's prizes, alongside Lisa Kelly, Hannah Lavery, Sean O'Brien, and Rommi Smith. Go on, let's hear it for the judges. Now, it's traditional at this stage in the evening to say how hard the shortlisting process is and how tight the competition is for prizes like this. But we don't need to. When you hear the poems, you'll realise how difficult the decisions were. And anyone who follows contemporary poetry will know there are hundreds of other outstanding poets and poems being read, published, and performed each day, week, and month across the country. So now I need to give you a little bit of a content warning, trigger warning. Poetry. Without further delay, let's hear some of these outstanding poems. And I'm going to need you to give your full heart and the full use of your hands for these people. It takes an enormous act of courage to stand on this stage. The first category is for Forward Prize for Best Single Poem Written. And first up is Abir Amir. Now, it's always incredibly daunting to be the first poet on the stage, particularly at an event like this, so please do make them feel welcome, make them feel at home, make them feel they've come home. Please welcome Abir Amir with her poem, At Least.
Assalamu alaikum. Peace be upon you all. My poem's called At Least. At least. It is said that they died in their sleep. One might imagine a peaceful state, at least. At least the moment the skies fell on their small bodies, and the ground beneath crumbled. At least they were asleep, or at least they were in their beds. Maybe verses of solace were recited just before they drifted off. Maybe lullabies were sung to mask the sound. Or at least they were used to the sound. It was probably background noise to them. White noise because of their backgrounds, their ground so used to it for most of their short lives. It is said that they died in their sleep. At least it was dark. At least they won't have seen the rockets signed by the senders. At least they won't have seen the signatures. At least it was nighttime, a single airstrike at least. At least in their last moments, their souls had already left their bodies to the air of dreams, the unseen land, a place in hiding when eyes are open, at least. At least they were drowsy, or at least not fully awake. At least if they startled, it would have been quick, or at least, if slow, they were floating into a dreamy transition to the next world. At least now they're just waiting for a proper burial, at least. At least it's over now, at least for the dead. At least these children don't need to fear the dark. At least not anymore.
Thank you. At least the children will not be afraid of the dark. Sometimes I think it's the simplest of images and intentions that takes us straight to the heart of poetry. What else is poetry for but to tell the truth, and the truth of these times? On the page as well, each line is like violently slashed, the whole poem giving the impression of fracturing. Next is Tom Branfoot with his poem, A Parliament of Jets.
A Parliament of Jets, which begins with an epigraph from Saeed Shomali. If I die, I worked for Palestine, and I worked for the birds. Between mountain pines, prickly pears, the River Jordan and Mediterranean Sea, olive-rooted hillsides and military checkpoints each spring, millions of migratory birds fly over the occupied territories of Palestine, where settler violence soars under the state's armored wing. Unwavering naturalists and birders risk detention and brutalization to document the visitation of swifts. Anyone spotted with a camera or binoculars awaits questioning. Only drones are permitted optical advantage. One risks existence to witness a kestrel return to its nest in the West Bank's limestone cliffs, for daring to understand life outside its immediate context of devastation. Low-flying American-made jets rupture atmosphere, rumbling over fells at regular intervals, shoving thunder into ears, overthrust cotton buds, disarming engines to barrel roll over pikes, superseding buzzards and other raptors in preparation for a future war. In Elta water, a lone jay swoops through mossy enclaves. There is more spilled blood in Gaza than drinking water, where native sunbirds wet scimitars on ambivalent light. No snipers scope out our white bodies, resisting soil and air in this recreational environment, constructed and purchased by Englishmen to preserve national identity. Though rivers, fields and moorland are dry stone enclosed, allotting authorized strips of managed land through which to ramble with a semblance of sublimity, I walk queasy with romanticism below the military-industrial complex mimicking avian flight. Types of aircraft that may be seen in the area include F-15 Eagle, Typhoon FGR-4, Hawk T-2, Hercules and helicopters. Semantic damage, naming combat aircraft after birds, a predatory metaphor, the F-15 Eagle boasting hundreds of victories in aerial warfare, with the majority of kills claimed by the Israeli Air Force. More aircraft have been totaled by collisions with white storks, pelicans, and other large birds gliding over settlements than through enemy conflict. Empires indulge in hands-free massacres, alienated from ground blood. To enjoy this aerial display without cowering in ruins or a designated safe zone is a privilege, where sound signals nothing but precision in the colonial sky, under which a farmer leaves his pasture to inform us of the next Hercules flyover, and not to bowl trespass, red as fresh steak. No one is free, but some are less free than others. Cleaving valley air for insects, these swifts and swallows likely pass through Palestine on migration through wintering grounds in Africa to European breeding grounds, excreting amputated memories mid-air, trauma transported like a parasite on the wing. I don't see there should be separate words for politics and nature. After Chernobyl, Brits were discouraged from drinking water from rivers, gills, and tarns. Ukrainian clouds absorbed radiation before shifting to glide over our island, raining unknowables and acid into open water. Of Cumbrian radiation, only 50% came from Chernobyl. The rest blossoming from nuclear bomb testing, the Windscale fire of 1957, and routine discharges from Windscale, now Sellafield, in the 60s and 70s. Local and global intersect, overlap in landscape, double exposure, still circulating blood warmed in flight over the West Bank, a complication of chiff-chaff nestle in wooded tracks, whittled by colonial wealth. We hear the same discursive boom as the F-15 between the Langdale pikes, as echo above civilians in the largest open-air prison, reduced to collateral in the everywhere war, despite which migration hasn't halted. Birds still visit the occupied territories, instilling hope to the displaced, though they become harder to observe. New checkpoints, roadblocks, and gates in the West Bank. This is not just a country of war. Birdwatching, a counterpoint to death, bombings and killings, Finch glimpse of normality. F-15, Eagle, Eastdale, Israel, Langdale, Eagle, Langel, Israel, Real, F-5, Eastdale, Angel, Lang, Eastgle, F-15, Palestine. Relentless aerial bombing and military ground invasions by Israeli forces have mutilated Gazan ecosystems and natural environments. Imperial ecocide, settlers burning agricultural land, ancient olive trees and Palestinian crops, white phosphorus in the soil, the environment a victim, contaminated with munitions and toxins. We are so close to this unspeakable atrocity through screens, swifts, and fighter jets. Their war-reminding presence between the ridges of scars in the fantasy of wilderness, that other place whirling inside my cortex, underneath this place, a Geiger counter chorusing radiation's ghost. I can hardly breathe in the hushed green air, dry stone walls and hedgerows, the stories we tell of the rural. Visible patterns of ownership and usage etched into the landscape, checkpoints for marked subjects. We can't imagine land outside that context. A failing empire out-violences its past. Here, in the land of teasels, touch me not balsam and foxgloves, binoculars aimed at this hedged blackcap like a thing at rest. Stress balm, chirping with its inly muttered voice before flying away without a threat of contrails or noise. Thank you.
Tom Bramford. Poetry must respond to the living moment, and that is a necessary poem. An astonishing blurring of bird-like images, from swifts to F-15s to drones that swarm colonial skies above Palestine. Next, a poet who sadly can't be with us, Tim Cheng, with Girl Ghosts. She can't be with us this evening, but her poem will be read by Esme Ullman.
Girl Ghosts by Tim Cheng. Girl Ghosts say Surabaya, sound like 8 again. Girl ghosts pick and choose their countries, yes to father's nose, mother's eyes, no to her wiggling pair of Liza, her widowed high-pitched Lao Li, Lao Li. Girl ghosts beat each other into meat floss, shout Lundak, the only Hokkien girl ghosts pass on, be it Surabaya or Putian. Girl ghosts are rich, beautiful, in denial, love being loved by landlord fathers, steam thin rice cakes when the rice runs out, charge neighbors for watching their TV. Girl ghosts are crying. Girl ghosts are not crying. Girl ghosts are learning Erho in Fuzhou, hands frostbitten, out of tune. The Erho cries out for girl ghosts with long faces, low registers. Girl ghosts don't think Sichu schools like them. Girl ghosts drop singing, raise girl ghosts in Hong Kong. Girl ghosts meet in a tea restaurant with a beauty pageant playset. Porcelain clatters among girl ghost chatters. Girl ghosts want to be the champion. An uncle tells girl ghosts, champion? More like pork chops. Girl ghosts tell girl ghosts, study hard, compensate for having your father's small eyes. Girl ghosts take group photos, swipe other girl ghosts out the screen. Girl ghosts enlarge themselves in part, face, hair, belly. Girl ghosts suck the eyes out of fish heads with fermented soybeans. The heads of girl ghosts fly out of stuffed winter melons. Thank you.
What an astonishing piece of work. Girl ghosts, raise girl ghosts in this wide, vivid cinema of a poem. Next, we have Claire Lynn with Live Stream.
Live stream. From different time zones and latitudes, we are watching the ospreys. A pip in the speckled shell of the second egg reveals a membrane pulsing. In different languages, we are watching the ospreys. Waiting for the shell to crack, we remember songs sung before we were born. We don't deny the hell in a handcart going of the world, but we are watching the ospreys. We count the fish delivered to the nest each day, name them trout, flounder, bass, and rate their flappiness. Watching the ospreys, we revert to a time long shaken off, cooing, he's such a good provider. The hatched chicks are all beak. Their mother passes them torn off bits of fish. They eat and sleep. When dawn breaks over the Dovey estuary, we are watching the ospreys. Early risers in the northeast of England, taking over as the North Americans go to bed. We gaze at blue skies over the nest, and we watch storms roll in, the chicks sheltering under the umbrella of their mother. Sometimes we spot a fox parting the long marsh grasses. We have wool to spin, exams to mark, bairns of our own to feed. But we are watching the ospreys, less than 6 weeks old and now as big as their parents. Do we imagine we have contributed to this growth with our watchfulness, our care? Preening, they fill the nest with downy feathers, which blow away like dandelion clocks. As puzzled as we are by the preposterous length of their wings, unfolding, angular as music stands, they stretch them out across a sibling, then stagger to their feet and beat the air, wind ruffling feathers not yet primed for flight. Another week, and we are watching them helicopter, lifting off the nest, hovering, and clattering back down, not sure how to detach from the air. Soon they are flying from nest to perch and on into the limitless sky. Still, we are watching the ospreys, blurred specks catching the light as they soar. Now they can fly, but not yet fish, shouting and fighting for what their father brings, devouring everything except the operculum. Watching the ospreys, we miss their mother, last seen this morning, yesterday, last week, gone already when no one was looking. Perhaps she is crossing the Pyrenees now, following the same high passes as the mountain roads. Safe journey, we murmur, Godspeed. When the weather gets colder, fish swim deeper, out of reach. Days shorten. Already the first chick has gone. She will make the journey to Africa alone. We watch her younger brother for signs of the same mysterious pull of the south, the south, the south. His father will wait to watch him set off, rising, spiraling upwards, rising, catching the thermals. But we won't know the ospreys have left until we realize they haven't come back.
Thank you, Claire Lynn. Beautiful poem. In different languages, we are watching the ospreys. It's a poem about nurturing of wild birds, becomes a metaphor for family, for loss, migration, and freedom. And there are a few bird poems this year in the Forward Prize, which will tell you everything you need to know about what's happening in the world. Finally, we have Nick Makoha with Codex, published in the final issue of Bath Mag, which, as you know, was published by our friend Boyega Odubanju, who I believe edited this. Please welcome Nick Makoha with Codex.
Codex. When death was a winged horse, I escaped my country by taking a flight south. Clouds, between the sky and us, between the earth and us. I devoted my time to the background, turning slowly as an engine roared, en route to a waiting city. The night seemed to comprehend and answer. It became a guardian that mistook me for part of itself. Sometimes it was a gate, or a face, or a document. But as a desert bird is silent, so was I. As the silent light turned, so did the outstretched wings of a plane. Maybe I'm only here to wait, the way a mountain waits for the valley below, the way the future waits for our lives to take place, learning and watching. Thank you.
Nick Bakoha. And again, we're blinded by this powerful bird-like imagery. This time a plane in flight, fleeing perhaps, turning, learning the scope of its wings and where they might take it. I'm sure Boyega is watching. So that's that for this category. What an incredible bunch of poems, I'm sure you'll agree. I'd now like to welcome Sarah Hall, who judged the chairing panel, who chaired the judging panel, who is a chair. I'd now like to invite Sarah Hall to the stage. She had a difficult task of selecting the winner, and Sarah will be joined by William Sieghart, the founder of the Forward Prizes, who will present that winner with their prize. Please welcome them to the stage.
Hello. It's an enormous pleasure and privilege to be here handing the prizes out on behalf of the other judges. I'll briefly say a little bit later about the judging process, but getting straight to it, the Forward Prize for the Best Single Poem Written 2025 this year goes to Abir Amir.
I'm so proud of you. Thank you so much. Not at all. Not at all. Enjoy the moment.
Goodness me. Well, firstly, thank you so much to the judges. And thank you so much to Zoe Brigley and everyone at Modron for publishing my poem. I know I was supposed to write something, and but I wrote it for the children in 2024, when already thousands had been killed, and it's 2025 and thousands more have been killed. This is for them, and peace.
Amir, winner of the Best Single Poem Written category. And now, the next category. The Forward Prize for Best Single Poem Performed was a new category 2 years ago, and a long overdue move to recognise the incredible poetry that takes place on stages across this country, whether in grand buildings like this, or libraries, or pubs, cafes, and art centres. This prize looks to give poems written for performance the same standing as those published on the page, reflecting the reality of their significance in our whole art form. These 5 shortlisted poems were judged based on films submitted by hundreds of poets across the UK and Ireland. This year, the Forward Arts Foundation also opened this category up to include work produced in British Sign Language, and we have 2 poets with signed work in the shortlist. As with the rest of this evening, all these poems will be interpreted by our gorgeous interpreters, Lorna and Petra. The first shortlisted performance is Raymond Antrobus with Dynamic Discs, 1933.
Hello. Amazing to be here tonight. This poem is called Dynamic Discs, and it's an acrostic poem in response to a painting which was in this tiny, obscure gallery in New York called the Guggenheim. And all the shapes that are in the painting and in the building made it into this poem. I hope you enjoy it. Dynamic Discs, 1933. My phone memory is full of canvases I've cried in front of. Circles, holes, shadows on water. There was a point you wanted to stay, but couldn't stop floating in the air. The sight of you is a thing I keep orbiting. I was afraid of rejection, knew I'd give it too much meaning, or not enough. Sat in the glossy Guggenheim gallery, eyes on Krupke's dynamic discs. I began to think of relationships as circles, the blue, red, white, black spirals, imperfect and ununioned, obscuring the broken run of black lines, the way they break, like eggs, waves, light bulbs, marriages. Since our separation, I have been spilling ink on lined pages, wondering what stopped working when the plates were put away. And how many times we asked with water in our eyes what we wanted if it wasn't art on the wall in the house by the sea.
With a heartbreaking poem about the end of a marriage, the end of any kind of relationship. Antrobus's incorporation of BSL as a fundamental part of his works has helped open up the stage to deaf poets and alive visual poetry. It's helped open up a new poetic. Next in this category is Bella Cox with Siki Lisa.
Good evening. It's an honor to be here. This poem is entitled Sikiliza, which means listen in Swahili. That's the dominant language spoken in Kenya. 1. July is baking this London balcony, Barcelona beach, Nairobi jacaranda-lined street to sweltering. Parked outside Johannesburg's Market Theatre, a London ambulance wailing, you hear Vulindlela playing. Someone swears in French. You are circling Geneva's three-legged chair. On Westland's roundabout, a street kid named Moses begs for mandazi money. Oyster card ready. A shirtless man names you guapissima. Onions and boerewors sizzling. The next train will arrive in 2 minutes. You barter for a Maasai necklace. 2 kites swoop. Seize your samosa, you swear. In English, your friends are laughing. In a nearby pub, tavern, chiringuito, there is always beer. The road is long and gray. To the left, a sudden wall. Red graffiti scroll. You are here. 2. Here is anywhere you do not wish to be. You ache for the scent of jasmine every day until you have it, and then it's mosquitoes that bite you back into yearning for silly Western things like app-dialed food deliveries and faster internet speeds. Your mother wears her emigrations like medallions, tells you gratitude is the key to happy. Her voice, the same resonant hum as honey, thrums in 7 different languages. 3. You aren't fluent, but your tongue puzzles itself across 4 languages. Les notes audio de tes amis on repeat, a patchwork of comfort accents. No importa where you are, home, si o hapa. Permanent settlement n'existe pas. You are accustomed to being incomprendida. Even choosing a binary sexuality feels like choosing nyomba moja. Choosing one home feels like losing another. But you learn. Unajifunza, tu llamas a tu cuerpo hogar. You name your body home. Treat your many sensitivities as sacré. Anoint the walls of your skin with mafuta yanazi. Make it ritual. Learn le langage de ton corps. Sikiliza for your gut. Pay attention to your blood. Become cartographer of your many states. Bougez à votre guise, because hapa, you are all that you need. Aquí, puedes construir your own mosaic. Ici, you need not speak. Thank you.
Bella Cox! Choosing one home feels like losing another. A powerful, multilingual exploration of embodied multiculturalism backed up by that, I'm sure you agree, assured performance. Next, we have Griot Gabriel with Where I'm From.
A poem inspired by a writer's prompt that said, say where you're from without saying where you're from. I'm from a place where poor boys worship rich men. I'm from a place where we pull wheelies on bikes to wheeling black wheelie bins at night for bin men. I'm from smells of haze and dogs that bark at starry nights. I'm from a place where they try to gently gentrify. I'm from broken men that write stories with broken pens. I'm from a perfect God that uses broken men to tell stories written with their broken pens. I'm from a place where the new Nisa local will forever be called Charlie's. Because before Nisa became local, it was Charlie's that would charge me. I'm from bookies on every street corner. I'm from a place where we have prodigal sons because we first had prodigal fathers. I'm from a place where mom's wrinkled hands join in violent prayer. I'm from a place where Grand Theft Auto was idolized by infant eyes from the days of PS2 to PS5. I'm from a mother's teary eyes. I'm from a place where grand juries find joy in giving judgment to black boys with crooked laws like John Enterprise. I'm from I try to carry mother's pain. I'm my brother's keeper, so when I win, that's my brother's gain. I'm from a place where we either have red bloodshot skies or a blue moon, depending on the score on Derby Day. I'm from a place where prophets aren't accepted in their hometown, so they have to leave because it hurts to stay. I'm from a place where we hate to see the feds call. I love my city, though it's gritty, full of nitties. It's so peak in Piccadilly because the rent's tall. I'm from a place where if your friend dies, they say you must ride. I'm from gang wars between Longsight and Moss Side. I'm from empty fridge and empty belly. I'm from hangers as aerials to find signal on the telly. I'm from poverty. I'm from hood up means please don't bother me. I'm from MMU and uni of. I'm from damaged petals on roses, but they don't see the beauty of. I'm from adventure and powerhouse. I'm from my mom screaming, go charge the electricity before the power's out. I'm from a place where we set the usual urban scene. I'm from a place where there's an urban youth from the inner city and he's got urban dreams. I'm from a place where he's been molded by every bird and his postcode schemes. I'm from a place nicknamed LA, my postcode's M13. I'm from chiseled yet disheveled men. I'm from a bag of man wearing man bags. I'm from a place where it's face in dirt and handcuffs. I'm from a place where we sell white flakes like dandruff. I'm from stop resisting. I'm from a place where stop resisting is a metaphor for I wish you just stop living. I'm from magnums and spliffs. I'm from handguns and shifting gears to drift. I'm from a place where we don't mess with the southern borders. I'm from a place where you can see a whole new world when you enter Northern Quarter. I'm from... Where you from, bro? Where you from? I'm from you don't know the don't know. I'm from can anything good come from where I'm from? I'm from I don't really care what you think because I love where I'm from. I'm from a place where we scream 0161. I'm from a place where everyone's a walking contradiction. I'm from... Oh, you know where I'm from. Thank you.
Griot Gabriel! All the way, straight from the heart of spoken word, dragging the margins to the center of the stage in a calm, measured, strong performance, holding these hidden narratives and making the invisible tangible. Next, we have Joshua Idehen with The World According to Your Mum doing the washing. Joshua Idehen.
Hey, yo. I might not get another chance to say this, so I'll say it now. This poem started life as a Twitter thread. 2015, and I'm talking 140 characters. I say this not as a flex, but to say, write the thing. Don't know where it'll take you. The world, according to your mother, doing the washing. Capitalism, your mom does the washing, you pay her $1. You get her to do your mate's washing, your mate pays you $50. Communism, your mom does the washing, you do the washing. Every night you salute a picture of your dad. Socialism, your mom does the washing, you do the cooking. Everyone is happy. In theory. Feudalism, your mom does the washing and pays you tax. Colonialism, you barge into your mom's room, claim you discovered your mom's room, dump all your dirty clothes on the floor. Fascism, your mom does the washing, and you are obsessed with her nose. Liberalism, you watch your mom do the washing and you feel really, really bad. Something must be done, you say. Something may or may not get done. Libertarianism, your mom does the washing. You believe you did the washing. Religion, your mom does the washing. You thank God. Atheism, your mom does the washing. You make a 12-part YouTube video demanding peer-reviewed evidence that she did, in fact, do the washing. Zionism. You shoved your mom into the washing machine and the spitting made her dizzy and the dizziness made her vomit and you point at the vomit and go, aha, that's anti-Semitism. Americanism. Your mom does the washing. It's in the Constitution. End of discussion. Mansplaining. Your mom does the washing. You tell her how best to do the washing. You have never done the washing. Same-sex marriage. Your moms do the washing. Patriarchy. Your mom doesn't exist. The washing is mysteriously done. Turfism. Your mom doesn't want your other mom doing the washing because J.K. Rowling said something stupid on Twitter. Polling. There's a 70% chance you will do the washing on Saturday night. Come Sunday morning, it was 100% done by your mom. Africanism. You go to Benny's house. Benny's mom does the washing. You ask your mom, why don't you do the washing? You do not survive the night. Feminism. Your mom insists you grow up and do your own washing. White feminism. Your mom hired a woman of color to do the washing. Male feminism. That one time I did the washing, I told everybody I did the washing. I blogged about it, bragged about it, took a selfie, Insta story, went on TV, won an Oscar, went on Fortnite, did a dance. I am an ally. Hashtag me too. Egalitarianism. The one time I did the washing is proof everything is equal and no one needs feminism anymore. Hip hop. Every day I'm hustling, every day I'm hustling. When I bring the basket, mama puts the washing in. Narcissism. You look good in the clothes your mom washed. Surrealism. The washing does your mom.
Joshua Eden! Some of you might know that poem has moved around the world. It's a viral poem, moved around the world at a supersonic rate, introducing more and more people to this stunning art of poetry. And of course, his performance was sublime. Finally, we have Zoe McWhinney with The Portrait and the Skylight, after which she'll be joined by Sarah Hall again to announce the winner, and William Seacart to present them with their prize. Please welcome Zoe McWhinney.
This poem is called The Portrait and the Skylight. A joyful, glistening body of water. A petal-tickled maiden. One petal plucked and pirouetted away. I hate you. Another plucked, pirouette, I love you. Cut to the shadowy crown of a head emerging from the sun-lit water. There was a room, ceiling and floor plain as the walls, sun's rays narrowing to a close through the skylight as it melts into the horizon, a table and its legs resting upon it, a pot of brushes, easel with a canvas standing at a slant. There, by 1,000 brushstrokes and smears, is a woman floating in water, surrounded by flowers, and her feeble hands. The petal arrived, and become the painter's brush. He puts the brush aside in that pot, twiddling his mustache, examining his work. And he walked away, left the room. Bop. A droplet plop. Leak down the canvas. The skylight above had a little crack growing. Drip. Cut to a darkened sky, punctured only by one bright moon, witnessing from afar, the head rising above, drenched, inhaling. The skylight, that crack suddenly had branches and trees And these branches had their own branches. It spreads across the glass until the glass gave way. Burst, water slamming down, roaring along the wall, splaying there, rushing to over there, sweeping the floor, tackling the table's prongs, tipping the pot, spilling the brushes, painting lands on water being washed. But a hand reached out from either and held on to a petal in the painting, plucked it, released it so it could dance, pirouetted up, and to join the ranks of petals on a girl's favorite daisy flower. Her dad, the decorated general, padded shoulders and sash and all, he looked out of the curtains. A fatality. The knife point drips heavy with his blood. It lands, making a crown, as her daisy was torn open in grief. A dark sky, only the watchful moon, a figure paddling through the water, a circle of petals. But they are of speared metal. The killer's crown, hand bloodied, he stands accused, suddenly standing knee-deep in the water, gasping her wet body, shivering so bad, skin detected some warmth, looked, but she's blinded. By the rising sun. There's a bird, almost floating in front of her. A feather falls. It glided to join the water lily's petals, blooming one by one until the water is decorated with floating white and green dots. The sun affirms there is forgiveness.
Thank you.
Zoe McWhinney. So now I'd like to invite Sarah Hall and William Seagart to the stage to award the winner. Thank you.
What an absolutely extraordinary category this is, and how wonderful for you to be able to see and hear and feel these performances live tonight, all of which are extraordinary. But the forward prize for Best Single Poem Performed goes to Griot Gabriel.
Wow. As my mom would say, wonders shall never end. Wow, I just want to say thank you to everyone that supported me on my poetry journey so far. I want to thank Jesus Christ, my Lord and Savior. Thank you, Jesus. I want to thank my mom, my family, my brothers, my sisters. I want to thank my close friends and family. You know who you are. I want to thank where I'm from, M13, alongside in Ardwick, my community that's held me through all the ups and downs. I wrote this poem when I was homeless, living in my car, and it was the love of where I was from that kept me going. I want to thank my sons, Malachi and Eli. Every day I'm trying to be a better man for yous. You know where I'm from.
Winner of the Best Poem Performed Forward Prize 2025. I'm sure you've seen an incredible kind of carousel of poems over the last hour, but I can see the smokers are close to tears. So we're going to take a short 20-minute break. Please try to get back here in time, because after, when you come back, we are going to announce the winners of the Jerwood Prize for Best First Collection and the Forward Prize for Best Collection. See you in 20 minutes. second half of the Forward Prize 2025. Make some noise, please. Let's bless this place. Big up DJ Kamanzi over here. And big up the BSL interpreters who I got wrong earlier on. Please welcome Sophie and Petra. Wonderful. As we find our way to our seats, we will begin. And we will begin with the Jerwood Prize for Best First Collection. The prize is named in honour of the Jerwood Foundation, who, having previously supported the Best Single Poem Performed category last year, have generously committed to supporting this prize for 2 years. So thank you so much for making this possible. Jerwood Prize. Now, as Soledad explained earlier, the Young Poets Summit took place yesterday, and this included a shadow judging process where young poets from across the country read each of these shortlisted collections and books and single poems and picked their own winners. You can find their selections on the Forward Prizes Instagram @ForwardPrizes. Now, as you know, poetry is an art form, and as such, all art is subjective. Selecting from this incredible shortlist, a different group of judges may well have produced a different winner, which speaks to most of them. As you hear these poems, I imagine you'll all have your own favourites, which speak uniquely to you for any number of reasons. Before each poet shares some of their work, we'll hear a clip from one of the judges to give you an insight into each of the shortlisted collections and let you know why they thought that these are among the poetry books we should all have read this year. And then you'll hear their pick for the Jerwood Prize for Best First Collection 2025. In the meantime, I expect us all to be blown away by another outstanding shortlist. Are we ready? First up is Sarah Ghazal Ali's collection, Theophanies. This will be introduced by Hannah Lavery.
Sarah Ghazal Ali's Theophanies feels like stepping into an old story and finding it's been waiting for you all along. She takes sacred texts and turns them so the women's voices and women's bodies come to the fore. The poems are lush and fierce and full of angels and blood and song, but there's gentleness in there too. It's like being invited into a lineage, a home you didn't know you belonged to, bold and intimate and unforgettable. It lingers with you, like a hymn.
Indeed. Now please welcome Sarah to read the poem, Self-Portrait as Epiphany. Sarah Ghazal.
Thank you all for being here. Self-Portrait as Epiphany. I thought myself a child. The river revealed me a basket. Within, a doomed girl grew and groomed. When came the bush, I knew to burn, to shear errant tongues probing the cage. Mother sang of deliverance. Father prayed for a son. I revised myself a daughter, renounced duty, rolled stones down my throat. In a dream, the angel reveals me a book. I learn myself grime among false gods. Unashamed, I cramp. Between my legs, a clot. From a clot, I'll make men. Hollow myself holy. Nothing laughs like me. Brittle, brutish, a woman baring her teeth. Thank you.
Sarah Ghazal Ali, thank you. A powerful invocation and evocation of the matrilineal line. Out of these clots, I will make men, somehow giving agency back to women to mythologize the female self. The next collection is by Isabella Barfi, Chaotic Good, introduced first by Lisa Kelly.
If you want to know how to take searing, red-hot, emotional material and use form to create something monumentally beautiful, then you've got to read Isabel Barfi's Chaotic Good. It's a collection that's revolutionary in its spirit. The way Barfi plays with, not only with form, but with sounds, the sonic confusion she creates, words that are similar to each other like pain and pen to suggest the trauma of a toxic relationship is exceptional. And this difficult dynamic is explored with such a breathtaking perspective and understanding of how history can shape us to make the choices we make. And this dance between free will and determination that leads to a hard fought for rebirth is, well, it's impossible to believe that this is a debut collection. By the end you think, wow. And then again, wow.
Please welcome Isabel Barfi to the stage to read her poem, Dear Eve, a letter to his second wife.
This poem is inspired by a figure from Jewish mythology called Lilith, who is supposedly Adam's first wife. It's called Dear Eve, a letter to his second wife. What you have heard is true. The world was young once, and so was I. At the edge of the garden, there was only more garden, and a serpent shedding its obedience. Who am I to judge? I drop things because they aren't safe in my hands. Mornings cracked like eggs that spit and then harden in resignation. The heart of a man who climbed trees as a boy and still flinches at the snap of a branch. The first time he mentioned you, he sucked the side of his thumb and then hooked it in his jeans. Good for food and pleasing to the eyes. I know you were the reason he learned to text with his hand in his pocket. Why, whenever he came, he murmured fuck into the billow, bitch against my hair. He cursed everything that wasn't you. By now, I bet he's led your hand to the spot he calls his rapture. You know the one I mean. I'm sure you've heard the sound he makes when it's pressed. May your fingers find it on days that bite. When another man squeezes your shoulder, when his brother's plot yields more maize, when the oxen look him in the eye. Put cocoa butter on memories that crack, crush bay leaves and mahogany bark for the cock that wanders at night. Burn the hairs of a coconut scalp and your son will be nothing like his father. A cracked mug for a libation cup, corn husk as catacomb. If in doubt, doubt everything. Look both ways before you tell them your name. Do you recoil at the thought? Do you hold my sins against me? I was formed from dust, not rib. Should I be cursed for the ground I claim as mine? I was pure once. Now I am well. I choose the hard bed. I choose the broken chair. I can't smell myself anymore. My story has so many versions, I forget which one is true. The hiss called me, but I ran from it. No, I ran from the hiss, but it called me back. No, I ran toward the hiss, not from it. Some thoughts get uglier, the truer they become. Thank you.
I drop things because they are not safe in my hands. Barfi continually shifts power between the toxic and the poison throughout its astonishing collection, running consistently toward the hiss. Next is the collection Heirloom by Catherine Esther Cowie. And here is Sarah Hall to introduce it.
Heirloom by Catherine Esther Cowie is a brilliant, confronting collection. It's full of song and sorrow, history and counter-history, stories about identity, inheritance within a St. Lucian family. The legacies of colonialism, violence, passion and rebellion are tackled, as well as ideas about empowerment, psychological change and emotional change. Relics and images and memories are passed down through generations of women who curate them, borrow them and then challenge them. The poems are so well crafted, beautiful, strange and provoking. There's a music of language and each one has a gem-like definition, and in the end it just seems like each one is an artifact in your hand that's radiating power and meaning.
Please welcome Catherine Esther Cowie to read the poem Aftermath.
Thank you, everyone. Aftermath to great-grandpa. Oh, hands that wound, even you grew flowers, the red-petaled hibiscus, the soft trumpeting yellow bells. Even you grew banana trees and the dashing root, and we too are your blossoms. I am here, muela, muela, the animal of my body chants my praise. I strip to my underwear, press against the cool tiles, let the sun trample my skin, let the light take root inside. Tonight I'll listen to an unlit sky teeming with rain. Tomorrow the hills will sparkle emerald, and one day I will tell another, these hills live in me, Mont Fortune and Bellevue. And you too fretted this place for your bones, abandoned the great house for a hut on the beach, its siren songs. We thought grandma would tongue your name a curse, she called you daddy, spoke of the coconut heads you split, gave her the water to drink. Who wants to begin in violence? We pressed our fingers to our wound, felt its widening mouth chorus. We are ashamed. Oh, hands that wound, no one sung this song to you, no one rimmed your neck with shame. But sow into a girl child what is hidden and hurts. Oh, dead man with your ass stuffed with dirt, I string you into verse, a vengeance, an attempt at teasing out the light, to bear witness. I call you monster, I call you father, how this song blues the kitchen floor, bloodies our feet. Thank you, everyone.
Catherine Esther Cowie. So when I think of this poem, I think of all of those wounds, those tiny wounds opening wide their tiny little mouths to sing the names of all those that have hurt us. Poetry that is insistent, that is urgent, alive to vengeance. Next is Desiree's collection, Altar. Here's Rommi Smith to introduce it.
When I first read Altar by Desiree, I knew that it was going to be in my shortlist. I think this is a really beautiful debut collection of poems. These are poems, yes, but they are also articles of faith. Faith in humanity, faith in love, faith in redemption, faith in blackness, faith in queerness, faith in uncertainty. There is engagement with scripture. There's also engagement with popular culture, so references to hip-hop. I love its references to Saki Bartman and Kim Kardashian. It is a collection of poems that reveals things to us about the world and ourselves.
Please welcome Desiree to read the poem Salvo.
Salvo, after Hala Alan. Darling Slough, I love you like rain. When the boy put a brick to Aaron's head, blood littered the feet of our estate. Red brushed up next to yesterday's detonated water bombs. No one called this a war. The only shrapnel on these streets were needles and laces that held veins tighter than purse strings. There was no battlefield, no clearly uniformed ops, only ideas, as small as Mentos, dropped in the coke before exploding on the pavement outside his little brother's bedroom. Darling Slough, I love you like rain. You graveyard with no tombstones. An adventure playground some children play on, others lie underneath. I cannot walk through the new builds without hearing the bleating of the men I have loved inside of you. Darling Slough, I love you like rain. I have mistaken the wind echoing through vacant aisles for applause. Bowed to the shop fronts, a reflection of acclaim attempting to double its value. Darling Slough, I love you like rain. Forgive me for telling on you. I saw a bear in the field during rounders, or was it a panther? Maybe it was one of the soldiers, usually stationed outside Tesco's, ready to feast. I watched them devour a boy and spit out the bones of a bird. Every predator is prey to what swallows them.
Desiree! That penultimate line, ma'am. Spit out the bones of a bird, draws out the great grief at the heart of the poem, the loss, the bewilderment, and elegy for the living. The final book in the category is Goonie by Michael Mullin. And here is Sean O'Brien to introduce it.
Michael Mullin's Goonie is so full of fireworky Glaswegian energy that the physical book can scarcely contain it. Mullin is a superb poet of the city landscape. The bars and tenements and the post-industrial Clyde form the map where he situates his raw, subtly affectionate poems of love and family, queer life, and people's capacity for sheer dogged endurance. The results are, by turns, hilarious and poignant.
Please welcome Michael to read the poem, Tenements, and then you'll be joined by Sarah Hall and William Sieghart to announce the winner and present the award. Michael Mullin.
Hiya! Tenements. Red firmaments jostling the skyline, Atlas-backed manses carrying dreich, tricking your eye with each bent windy, burnt shooters skimming smur, sitting squat, tobacco-shaded tenements, windies reflecting sun rages, independent, stoning on his Todd, great survivor of renovations, klimt-licked, ginger brick, a solid frieze of masons, origami, gutter link, lit lang sketches along his surface, permanent. They press down the high streets, half hexagon as the sandstone brow of your favourite drinking establishment, blonde, constant. Listen, how sonorous your words are longing, jaunt to the close, bellowing down the sliver of solid living, your consonants trapped in its algae-patched grimace, or skating on the line-gilded tiles of a wally close in shades, a cheery rid, or golden, snooty steamboat puffs, adding their own glamour, as if these behemoths could undock and sail the street, lives stacked on each other lit stanzas. Glowing amber caverns, monstera hands clasped onto windies, what lives these tenements have couried. Terracotta pots, shorn to a tapestry of jawlines, rain-drenched each year, and yet they breathe. Sparkle dry, peat brown bruise, blue shade made living light. Fuck your tombstones When I go, tell them I was powdered to dust and mixed with Scotland's best brick. My eulogy, hail the stain that hames us. Thank you.
Michael Mullen! Now I'd like to introduce Sarah Hall to the stage and William Seagar to announce the winner and present the award. Sarah Hall. William Seagar.
Crikey. Just extraordinary. You'll probably already have read these collections. If you haven't, please read these collections. Please read absolutely everything that these writers go on to write. They are incredibly talented. However, the Jerwood Prize for Best First Collection goes to Isabel Barfi.
My goodness, wow. This prize is an incredible, wonderful honor. Thank you so much to the Forward Arts Foundation and the Jerwood Foundation for making this moment possible. To the judges, the brilliant, talented judges for championing my work. And to the teams at Faber and Wesleyan University Press for all their creativity, support, and insight on this book. Thank you also to my family and friends for all their love and support, to all the editors who have published my work over the years, to all the programs, courses, mentors, workshops who have supported me. Poetry saved my life, and I will always be grateful to all of you for being part of that journey. I'd love to use this opportunity to urge you all to donate to the Pansy Foundation, which helps Congolese survivors of sexual abuse to find the justice, future, and joy they deserve. My work is deeply invested in truth-telling, in finding a language for the ineffable, in order for us to liberate ourselves and others. And with that in mind, I'd just like to say, always and forever, free the Congo, free Sudan, and free Palestine. Thank you so much.
The winner of the Jerwood Prize for First Collection. And now we move on to the big one, the Best Collection of 2025. If you thought the Best First Collection shortlist was strong, imagine producing that kind of work across a whole career. In some cases, for almost 25 years. The shortlist tonight includes writers who've previously been shortlisted for Best First Collection, writers who've previously been shortlisted for Best Collection, writers who've won or been shortlisted for major national poetry prizes, writers who translate amazing poetry, and writers who now support people how to write really well through brilliant national programs and at prestigious universities. In short, the short list includes some really good poets. Again, Sarah, Lisa, Hannah, Sean, and Romy will be here to introduce you to each of these incredible collections. First up is Hannah Adcock with her collection, I Sugar the Bones. And here is Hannah Lavery to let you know what the judges thought about this book.
Hannah Adcock's I Sugar the Bones is one of those collections that make you feel the world tilt, startles the heart, takes the breath out of you. She takes the borderlands between countries, between languages, even between the living and the dead, and makes them porous, alive with ghosts and humour and danger and tenderness. Where else do you find Lisa Simpson dubbed into Spanish alongside rivers that carry history in their currents? It's dazzling and unsettling and deeply human. This is poetry that holds the mess of our lives, helps us confront the fractures of our world, and inspires us to find ways to put ourselves back together.
Please welcome Hannah, who'll be reading the poem Story of the Letter M. Hannah Adcock, Sugar the Bones.
Story of the Letter M. With a prophet's moustache and a penchant for conspiracy, the madman explains to me that language is a form of mind control, the grammar itself holding us in the mudra, an incantation muttered over millennia by our mothers, shaping our thoughts. I want to master the art of the pictogram, he says, earliest form of writing, uncontaminated by the misers, the drive for accumulation, manufactured with the rise of agriculture. The letter M, for example, is from the pictogram of a wave. We forget where it comes from. It loses all meaning. We write it over and over without ever thinking of how mar y mother, muro y morada, music and moon, mareo y marea are of one essence. As he speaks, I watch the surfers gliding along the lip of the perfect breakers, almost for the whole line of the horizon, before they topple over into the sea like tiny plastic soldiers. That night, we slept, hearing the waves crash onto the rocks, and in the morning we were rocks too, our hearts hardened lava. The Pacific had smoothed round windows through us, and like a Barbara Hepworth sculpture, we were made whole by what we lacked.
Hannah Adcock. Made whole by what we lacked. A book interrogating language and meaning, what it means to cross from one country or one state of being into another. Next collection is Leo Boyks's Southernmost Sonnets, introduced first by Lisa Kelly.
Leo Boyk's Southernmost Sonnets had me spellbound from the first sonnet to the 100th. I read it in one sitting, and I've gone back and looked at the sonnets in different ways because they are so rich and full of history, personal, geographical, colonial, and the way they speak to each other and interweave all these different stories. I would say it is one of the most generous collections I have ever read. It has colour, it has vibrancy, but at its heart, it's a love story that is so wonderful, and it is through the lens of this love story that the sonnets really speak to each other and take you on an incredible voyage.
Please welcome Leo to read Sonnet 99 from the book, Leo Boyks.
A volcanic rock, a rare Amazonian bird, a giant butterfly, an old map, Darwin wandering through Patagonia, my mother's untimely passing in a hospital south of Buenos Aires, my civil partnership in a London town hall, and a small picnic afterwards under the shadow of a Hawksmoor church. These are some of the coordinates of Southernmost Sonnets, a somewhat unruly cross-hemispheric journey of queer love, loss, and migration. In my book, I try to peer at South America in all its complexity, madness, and richness.
sometimes with a magnifying glass, sometimes with a telescope, sometimes with a mirror. At a time when immigrants from Latin America are being increasingly dehumanized, particularly across the pond, facing violence and persecution, vilified along with other immigrants by politicians seemingly everywhere, I wanted to bring a message that we, immigrants, can tell our stories and attempt to humanize ourselves in the eyes of others. The 100 sonnets in my book include 2 crowns where Catholicism, sexual awakenings, family secrets, and Darwin's famous voyage weave into a story that attempts to be both intimate and historical. It is a book I always wanted to write, though unfortunately it insisted on taking its time. It wanders between classifications and taxonomies, personal memories and political upheavals, from the geological birth of a continent to the myths, traditions and communities that continue to give it breath. And it is also, quite simply, a love story between 2 men, between mother and son. The sonnet I'm about to read is the penultimate one, a kind of southern pole where memory and survival, grief and tenderness are held together inside these 14 lines. Sonnet 99. On the writing desk, a picture of my late mother tasting mushy food before feeding her baby, me, wearing a little blue hat and a bib, looking eagerly at her. We are in Parque Pereira, an idyllic park of oak trees. Mother is in a bright red dress, bathed in sunshine. This is the only photo framed of her, and on its yellow back, some scribbles for her as I grew up, a few lines when I was ill or missed her. Mamá, te extraño hasta el cielo. The fast, eroding picture of a simple autumn day outside the city. What was it that she was thinking and she was about to feed me? And what did Father say before taking the photograph, standing there, just looking? And what happened next? Did she sing to me as I dozed off reluctantly? And what did she see as my eyes closed? Thank you.
Leo Boix. A poem much like a photograph, a day impressed on paper, pretty much as it was impressed upon Leo's memory. And I love particularly how the last 4 lines of the sonnet are all questions, and perhaps that's what we're all left with. The next collection is Niall Campbell's The Island in the Sound. And Sean O'Brien will give you an insight into the book.
There's a deep music to Niall Campbell's The Island in the Sound, as well as a strong sense of place at the edge of the ocean, perhaps the edge of the world. Campbell's poems treat life, death, love, time, and belonging with tender exactitude. The result can be both transparent and mysterious, a sign that this book is the real thing.
Please welcome Niall Campbell to read the poem, Apprenticeship.
Good evening. With Heaney's collection, his collected poems coming out, I was watching an interview by him where he was talking about our past. For the poem, our past kind of serving as psychic fossil fuel, the thing that gives energy or fuel to a poem. And I think that was such a beautiful idea, but maybe it keeps the past too much at distance, to be external from us. Whereas I kind of think that we obviously are carrying it around a lot more in a way that our first loves shape all later loves, and even our first jobs shape the other work we might go into. And coming from the Outer Hebrides of Scotland, the glamorous first job I had was a crab sorter, which is not a job that is apparently taken up much in London. So to give you the gist of the job, it was to stand at a box around about this height where they'd pour in live crabs, and you had to sort large from small, from hours and hours at a time. So I wondered how that would impact the act of poetry. So this is the poem Apprenticeship. Dusk on the water. The job was to watch, unracked, the wet, still dripping creels being tipped into the grading tray, alive with life. Our seas provided black-eyed velvet crabs, with small horns ridging their top plates, the work to grade by size. Those big as a fist, they pointed, big as a heart I saw, were lifted out as worth a better price. Ours you'd weigh by hand and eye and a slow part of the mind. Young jeweler at a tray of breathing stones, arbiter at the filling, refilling box. The night progressing until the shed light drew out thick moths. To work was to find yourself drawn in, or was it drawn back to something careful and mysterious, hard-shelled and resistant, big as a fist or heart. The same rain falls on that shed and on this house. I did it 5 years, and then I did it the rest of my life. Thank you very much.
Niall Campbell. There's such a magical break, a magic brutalism in this poem, a cinematic allegory of the working man, big as a heart, as a fist. Absolutely wonderful. Next up is Vivian Ravinthiran's collection, Avidya, first introduced by Rommi Smith.
Vivian Ravinthiran's Avidya is a deeply moving, relevant, necessary collection of poems that meditates on identity and belonging, a fusion of Sri Lankan culture, Englishness, whatever that has come to mean in this moment and in context of this book, and the questions that it asks about what it is to speak English are profoundly relevant and timely given the political situation in terms of the rise of the far right and what is happening in terms of xenophobic ideas of who belongs and who doesn't. I found this, profoundly moving to read. It touched me deeply.
Please welcome Vivian to read the poem, Morning.
Thank you. So in 2017, my parents and I were traveling in Sri Lanka, and we met with a group of Tamil women who were still petitioning the government to try and find out what had happened to their children during the Civil War. So this poem's about that. It's called Morning. Andrew Marvell helped me write this poem. Morning. What is the meaning of the tears those mourning women in their shack cried or didn't for lost these years, their children who did not come back, grief unbegun and without end. Sri Lanka's a peculiar shape. War-torn in two, it has remained a single teardrop on the map. Erlam, island within island, no explosion could break free. The sea foam mingles with the sand. The banyan's roots become the tree. Unknowing is the utmost hell. Did her child die or flee abroad? Or is he tortured in a cell? A mother's grief has been outlawed. For how can she convey the news to herself that her child is dead? Hope being a bomb she can't diffuse. Her left wrist wears the sacred thread. Capsules on strings around their necks, cyanide in case of capture. Some longed to blow themselves up next in lonely yet collective rapture. The tears we cry, once separate, become reciprocal. A sea, planes fly across. Some emigrate. My parents did, who made me me, but I'm them too. They could not purge that terror passed down like a gene. Our histories can't but converge, for with a touch our griefs convene. My mother's gifts of fear and dread, as if some power still wants me dead, wrote the meaning of a woman's pain into these tears I can't restrain. Thank you.
Me, Jim, Ramtharim. That's such an incredibly wonderful musical sonic response to the Andrew Marvell poem. And I found myself, what I was drawn to most is the found nature of the poem, the whole idea of Sri Lanka being like a teardrop. The final book in this category of Best Collection 2025 is Well Water by Karen Soley, introduced by Sarah Hall.
Karen Soley's Well Water is an extraordinary collection that not only challenges the politics of the moment, our ownership and custodianship of the environment and failures to protect nature, it's also an intimate reflection of our human scale in it. Small moments of tenderness, kindness, wisdom and love sit against great wildernesses, habitats under threat and huge agricultural landscapes. There's levity and humour, philosophy, investigations, and questions that we all ask about our place in the complicated systems we now exist in.
Thank you. Now, not only is this our last poem of the evening, but Karen's literally just arrived in the UK this afternoon on a transatlantic flight and come straight here from Heathrow Airport in order to read for you. So please welcome our final reader. Give love for Karen Soley to read the title poem from her collection, Well Water. Karen Soley.
Thank you. It's so lovely to see you all here. The poem I'm going to read is the title poem from the collection, and it was really my gateway into thinking about the collection and thinking about how the past changes with time as we get older, as our contexts change, and thinking about whether we could have recognized the seeds of consequence in things that happened back then, and hoping that perhaps we can begin to do so now. It also has occurred to me how much a Blondie reference dates me. Well water. I didn't know what I had. Drove the water truck underage to the well. in a swimsuit, anointed with baby oil to encourage a uniform exposure. A mild burn atop the tank as it filled in that burgeoning era of means to an end. It was a chore to attend this site of worship, from which song was drawn to feed the souls of planted trees not native to that place, as we were not native to that place. Our glyphosate on the wind, our malathion, dust of gravel roads that bore vehicles of gas well company agents, fracking derricks across the county, appearing before, as we said, we knew it. Blondie tore a strip off the wheat field. The tank cooled as the level rose, and I descended to start the engine so the radio wouldn't drain the battery. A mistake I'd made and lived to regret, which is the only way I ever learn anything. It took 75 minutes. The things you remember. My last act before closing the tap, to take the hose by the neck and drink, taste the cathedral's rock and temperature, the water hard and the table high. The water then, you could still drink it. Thank you.
Karen Soley. Now I'd like to welcome to the stage for the final time, Sarah Hall and William Seagart to announce the winners of the Best Collection 2025.
Right. If I could take just a moment to talk about the judging process. I'm not going to wang on about it because I know you're all waiting for a very exciting result. But I think we've talked about this, we've written about this as judges. It was incredibly difficult, it was incredibly pleasurable. And we talked for hours, we listened to each other for hours, we had extra meetings. I'd like to ask for a round of applause for the Forward Foundation and the administrative staff who gave us extra time, were patient, were stewarding, and in the end allowed us judges to do something which has not happened in the history of the Forward Prize before, and that is to award the Best Collection Prize to 2 collections. If I can get them apart. We tried really hard, and in the end it felt like a forced decision to choose 1 collection. All the collections were brilliant. 2 came forward towards us and they were offering themes and ideas that just seemed so current for now and so important in some ways the main crises that we face at this particular point in time: migration, belonging, the environment, nature, and our place in it. And so I'd like to thank the Foundation for allowing us to do this, and I hope everybody will understand why we're doing this. The Forward Prize of all prizes is in gathering. It cherishes diversity. Its outreach is extraordinary. It asks for people to come in and listen to poetry and enjoy poetry and read poetry and find something new. And in this way, I think it's absolutely fitting for this prize to be given to 2 writers. And they are Vidyan Raranthiran and Karen Soley, if you could both.
Wow. Well, I want to thank Picador and Colette, Bryce, and Connor and Abruba and everybody there who have been so supportive of me over here in the UK. I'm not the easiest cat to herd, so so thanks to them for that. In the course of writing this book, my dad died, and he was a person who believed that we should take care of each other, and it's a lesson that I believe very strongly in. And he also believed that we need to turn our attention to those whose best interest is in dividing us. I feel so privileged and honored to be on this list with all of these poets, and thanks so much.
It's hard really to say anything better than that. I would like to thank everyone at the Ford Prizes and the judges, and my publisher Blood Axe, my editor Neil Astley, who convinced me not to come out here and read a poem that was only 14 words long and to actually read a longer poem. I'd like to thank my parents for their heroic journey out of Sri Lanka. I'd like to thank my fearless neurodivergent wife and my fearless neurodivergent son. I'd like to thank my students and the people of Sri Lanka. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. I was saying earlier on that poetry always gets there first. I first gave this award 33 years ago, and the winner of the prize for Best Collection was Tom Gunn for a book called The Man with Night Sweats, which was the first ever engagement I ever came across in art with the subject of AIDS. And we have seen tonight an extraordinary relevance and vibrancy once again on the topics of our time. I'd like to thank Joelle and Sarah for steering us through a wonderful evening of readings and performances. There is one final piece to announce. For the second year, we are also working with the Eileen Shoner Writing Programme, courtesy of Vanessa Branson, which offers a week-long residency on the breathtaking Scottish island to one of the poets shortlisted for Best First Collection. The fellowship covers the cost of stay, as well as travel to the island, and is one of the incredible opportunities that these prizes can unlock. We're delighted to be able to offer this opportunity to Leo Boyks. Once again, I want to extend my sincerest congratulations to all of our writers and all of our winners, and to all the shortlisted poets, and say enormous thanks to them for sharing their work with us tonight. I'd also like to thank all of those poets, publishers, producers, translators, administrators, editors, compilers, librarians, and everyone else whose work helps keep the poetry sector thriving. This evening is just a spotlight on some of the excellent work you can find on bookshelves and in poetry nights across the country. And I'd encourage you to seek it out wherever you can. On that note, you can find work from all of these shortlisted poets, as well as 50 highly commended poets, in this year's Forward Book of Poetry, which is available now, including in the Foyles bookstall in the foyer. I'd also like to thank Neil Astley and Michael from Picador, who changed poetry forever and who even now are still creating winners for the Forward Prizes. They should be honoured once again. Their contribution to poetry is quite extraordinary. Before we go, I'd like to offer thanks to Southbank Centre for hosting us, our guest reader Esme Allman, our DJ Kamanzi, who's been playing for us all evening, our interpreters Sophie Allen and Petra St. Hilaire, to Soledad Santana for getting us started this evening and welcoming us to London's vibrant poetry scene. Most of all, the Forward team, Monica, Lucy, Jay, Nicola, Laura and Isabel, and the producer for this evening's event, Tom McAndrew, who made this wonderful evening happen. And to our judges, Lisa Kelly, Hannah Lavery, Sean O'Brien, Rommi Smith, and our chair of judges, Sarah Hall, who devoted best part of a year of their lives to taking part and making this wonderful book. And finally, we also want to extend our thanks to our funders, without whom we would not be here tonight. Particularly the Jerwood Foundation, joining us for the second time and sponsoring the Jerwood Best First Collection Prize, which has been named to acknowledge their wonderful support. I'd also like to thank ongoing support from Arts Council England, the John Ellerman Foundation, Gemma Reed and Bloomberg Philanthropies, Cochrane Grants for the Arts, and a number of our individual donors. Thank you again for being here, for supporting these poets, and for supporting poetry. Good night.